Hello there, welcome to the channel. This is Nerd.World. We explore different universes, different factions, different sci-fi, different genre to a degree, all mostly focused on television. And if you like this channel, like this video, or any others on this channel, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. All will be appreciated. I also have two other channels that are linked below, which is a shameless bit of self-promotion, sorry. Nerd.World Films, basically this, but about films. And there is also Nerd.World History, which is a little different, more factually based, about people, events, machines, whatever, from history that take my interest, and hope they take your interest as well. Today's video, I'm exploring the mirror universe. It's something gained my attention recently, and it's kind of been on the back burner in my head, and it kind of brought it back to the front, that there are actually multiple Terran universes in Star Trek canon. And I wanted to explore that a little bit right now. So, let's get started. Now, in Star Trek, the mirror universe generally is sort of evil reflection of our universe. The Federation is not a federation. Humanity are not really explorers. They're conquerors just because, you know, they can and they will. That's the general mirror universe we all know and love from Star Trek, but there are actually a few others that have been explored in comic book form and in book form over the years, and it's sometimes hard to differentiate between them. Some of it's open to interpretation, and a lot of it is beta canon. Now there's the main, we'll start with the main continuity, starting with the 1967 episode, I think, Mirror Mirror from the original series, where Kirk and gang end up in the mirror universe. They find out there's no Federation, but it's the Terran Empire. Spock has a goatee, so obviously he's evil, because men with facial hair are evil. And there you go. Basically, that in a nutshell. Now, the DS9 episodes that follow on in a way from them talk about the arrival of people from that universe and how they affected the development and culture of the Terrans of that universe, resulting in the fall of the Empire. Discovery and Enterprise have also explored the mirror universe, and they would all have you believe that it's actually one continuous universe. Dialogue on screen in recent episodes of Discovery would imply that Giorgio's universe, his empire, has collapsed. This could easily be a reference to the collapse of the Terran Empire and how it is distanced, and I have a theory that I may explore in another video about how Giorgio's removal from that universe began a chain of events that led to the fall of the Terran Empire in the first place, which I may explore in a later video in more detail, that theory, but for now we'll stick to this. But there were others that have been explored, and some people believe that the mirror universe explored in Discovery is not the same mirror universe that was visited by Spock. Some people even believe that the one that Sisko visits is not the same mirror universe, and there are reasons for this. Before the Deep Space Nine episodes established the fall of the Terran Empire, there was a series of books, the Shattered Mirror books, which were all about the Next Generation crew, Captain Picard and the others aboard his starship, and the ISS Enterprise, and they're going forth to conquer and destroy, and that was their stories. And then along came DS9 and kind of retconned that, even though, again, the books had never really been considered canon in Star Trek. More recently, towards the Kelvin timeline, there was a limited comic book series that I've got that's very cool, and again, I may do a video on this in the future, where Nero, everything happened the same. Goes into the black hole, gets flung back in time, but he also crosses universes, and he happens to end up not just back in time, but also in the mirror universe, and he runs into the mirror universe Kirk and co, and they just kick the living crap out of him. It's not like when Starfleet or the Federation come into them. The Terrans, not such an easy pushover. They go to town on Nero, and he's like really surprised at just how deadly they are, and Kirk's more out for revenge. They end up leveling the Klingon base that he's being held at. They break him out. He's like, oh, Federation, you're not going to do this to me. And they're like, there's no Federation here, dude. Bang, dead, murdered. That's for killing my dad all those years ago, you bastard. It's actually a really good comic. but that's yet another alternate version. There's actually a whole splinter timeline of the Dark Universe, as it is sometimes known, where the Terran Empires continued well into the 24th century. Then you've got Star Trek Online that shows a restored Terran Empire, though I do understand that that is meant to be the same mirror universe. But STO can't be considered canon. Again, you've got Captain Tilly and others of the ISS Discovery being in the continuity of Star Trek Online, all of which, if you believe what some people want to believe, that the mirror universe explored in Discovery is not the same mirror universe encountered by Kirk, which is fine, but dialogue on screen and everything that Discovery is trying to say, and for that matter everything that happened in the events of Enterprise with the connecting the disappearance of the USS Defiant, going back in time, blah blah blah, into the other universe, etc. Without going too much into that story, that vessel then influenced the development of the Terran Empire in that universe and is referenced in an episode of Discovery. And although that is a heavily modified image you see of the USS Defiant, now the ISS Defiant, it's easy to believe the Terrans could have simply modified that ship to look different, and that's why that Constitution class starship isn't the USS Defiant that we recognize in the original series. Not to mention Discovery has a habit of redesigning ships from TOS era anyway. Now there's another good argument, and I've often subscribed to it to a degree, that Discovery is not prime timeline. It's supposed to be. The makers say that it is. So if you take Discovery as prime timeline, there's no reason to assume that the mirror universe is not also prime timeline. But it's a very subjective opinion, as the continuity of the mirror universe isn't exactly a continuity. There's so much fragmented history and scattered bits of information, it's hard to put it all together and say conclusively it's always the same one. As we often say, there's a multiverse, and for every action there's a choice to have been made, and for every choice made there's a different universe that splinters off from it, which is insane. And there's actually a fan theory I encountered recently. I want to say it was by E.C. Henry, but it might not have been. Probably wasn't. Might have been Lore Reloaded. And it's basically that for every action made and decision made in any universe, there is always a universe that is created where the opposite decision was made to the one that was made there. You wanted to go left, so you did, but in another universe you went right. You went left, you went to work, you went right, you got hit by a bus. There's differences. So by that theory, the events that happened in the first season of Star Trek Discovery, where the ISS Charon was destroying the mycelial network and would have resulted in a collapse of multiple universes, or possibly every universe, and they stopped it, there is somewhere a universe where that didn't happen, and therefore every universe should have been destroyed. And therefore there would be no universes. It's an interesting theory. We can only assume that actually it wouldn't have destroyed all universes, but maybe a few did get destroyed, who knows. Anyway, there's wibbly wobbly timey wimey, let's go with that. As I said, there are multiple Terran universes, clearly, as there will be multiple federations. And who's to say that the Discovery one isn't the same one that Kirk encountered, but it also might be. I personally subscribe to the idea that it probably is. As there's no real good continuity of the mirror universe, they've never done anything in any canon source that states that it's not, and they've always tried to emphasize the fact, effectively, that it is. But, again, it's not like they're doing any kind of quantum analysis on equipment or people from that universe. There's also an argument that there was nothing ever referenced in Deep Space Nine or in the original series or any other, or in Enterprise, that the Terrans had photosensitive eyesight, where they didn't like bright light. That was never referenced or mentioned in it, so maybe it is a completely different universe just because of that. But then that would also imply, because of the connectivity of Enterprise, that the mirror universe, in a Mirror Darkly episodes of Star Trek Enterprise, were also set in the same universe that JoJo came from, or another Federation universe also went to that Terran universe. As I said, there are many different interpretations, and it's hard to say. Quite frankly, I like them all. I actually really like the Dark Universe, because I never liked the DS9 story that the Terran Empire fell. I thought it was kind of dull. I like the episodes that are in the Mirror Universe, but I thought it's much more fun to see a full, active, conquering Terran Empire than it was to see a human race downtrodden and needing our heroes in the Federation to come and help free them from their Alliance oppressors. I thought it was much more interesting, the fun of it, to have the Terrans be the baddies, to be brave that way and just say, no, these humans are evil. They're not the good guys. I liked that the original series was brave enough to show humanity as monsters in that original series. And I liked that Enterprise was brave enough to do it. And I liked that Discovery was brave enough to do it. And I disliked that Deep Space Nine, which was in some ways the more broadly progressive, again, a subjective opinion, Star Trek series, particularly from the 90s, was not brave enough to show that. Terrans were still violent and they still had that ruthless and untrustworthy streak in them, but they weren't the Terrans we recognized. And they weren't the Terrans that we saw in Enterprise. But anyway, what do all of you think? Is it the same universe? Is it a different universe? Obviously there are going to be multiple Terran universes. I really like the Kelvin timeline Terran universe as well, I might add. I found that comic book really engaging and very interesting to see a completely different type of response that Starfleet would have had. Plus, there's the bit where Nero kind of realizes that he's not in the right universe is really good and kind of satisfying. So, as I said, what does everyone think? Let me know. Is it the same universe? Is it a different universe? If it's a different universe, what do you base that on? If it's the same universe, why do you think it's the same universe? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Bye-bye.